But I am pleased to present Miss Toya Jackson.
All right. For those of you who didn't believe, roll up your sleeves. And if you're hanging, and if you're not, because Toya is showing down.
You pretty? Magazine, but you probably already knew that. You're a size 3.
How'd you know that?
Is that easy, or do you eat birdseed for breakfast, or how do you do that?
No, I'm a vegetarian, so I try and stick to my diet.
Uh-huh.
I eat basically vegetables, and then, of course, every Sunday I fast. And I just drink actual liquids, lemon juice and water. Yeah. And I exercise quite often.
Mm-hmm. I must say that your father was successful in doing what I was not able to do, and not a few fathers wish they could have done, and that is to keep your daughter in the house until she's 30. And as a matter of fact, your father was successful in doing that.
Yes, he was. He was very successful at that. I think it's basically because my parents laid down certain rules, and one of those rules, of course, were you were not to leave home unless you were married, and of course I wasn't married, and they felt that I belonged at home. But it got to the point where I felt that it's my life, and I'm growing up, and I need to experience, and I need to kind of wet my feet a little bit.
And you now living in a hotel in New York City, I assume looking for an apartment?
No, I have an apartment in New York City.
I see. Well, what must this be like after 30 years? Let me just say, your father did not appoint me to speak for him. I have to admire the man. I'm sure you have your grievances, as my daughter has with me. And it's probably not been, all wonderful. But 9 kids, no scandal? I don't think everybody's drug-free, as far as I know.
Yes.
Everybody's walking around and talking and acting normal.
Everybody's fine.
It's a tremendous achievement when you consider 9 kids, just raising 9 kids. Mm-hmm. We should probably say more than a few words about your mother as well. Well, here's my point. First of all, 9 kids is a lap full of responsibility. But when you consider the pressure on this family, literally, the family, in many ways, has lost its freedom. Michael certainly can't walk down the street anywhere in the world. And you're a striking resemblance to the whole family. You are a Jackson and always will be, and I'm sure you're proud of that. There has to be a part of you that admires what your folks did.
Yes, very much so. I think my parents did a wonderful job of raising us, especially my mother, because she was always there no matter what. And that's very important, especially in the early stages when you're growing up. And she was there to protect us and to help us and to guide us. And again, she did a great job. Mm-hmm.
Several years ago, the Jackson family appeared on the Donahue show, and I remember on that occasion your brothers and sisters saying how you would... Several limos would pull up to the concert hall after the concert, and the crowds, of course, would crush, and you guys would go out the back door and get in a Honda.
Yeah, or
maybe a Falcon.
Maybe a big van or something like that.
That's how you actually had to deceive...
Yes, and then and Michael does it that way today still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he used to.
He does.
You seem to be, if I may say, rather, you are an unaffected person. You never, and I guess this has to be your folks, you do not appear to have taken yourself too seriously. Do I have this correctly, or?
In what way exactly?
Oh, you're not arrogant, you're not snooty, you don't seem to snap your fingers at people. Huh?
No. My parents taught us, and they raised us not to do that. We realize that we're no different from anybody else. It's just a job. It's a career for us. And if someone here is working in a supermarket or at a department store, we're doing the same thing, only we're entertaining them through our music. Mm-hmm. So we're no different. So we don't look at ourselves as being better.
Mm-hmm. The family still stays, the siblings stay connected telephonically speaking?
Oh,
I mean, you
yes.
do,
I speak to them every day, at least somebody every day. There are 9 of us, so yes.
Your communication, well, it doesn't always happen, you know. Sometimes family, you know, I've already lived with these people, I don't want to. Your father is not thrilled with, nor is your mother thrilled with this Playboy, how do I want to say this, feature, these feature pictures of you. I guess I wouldn't be too thrilled if my daughter did. You understand his agony about this?
Yes, I do understand how they feel. I can't really elaborate on exactly what they're feeling because I haven't spoken to my parents since the layout.
Well, to have little Toya around for 30 years, devoted and always obedient, as you always were, I mean, you left home in a big way. I mean, my dear, you have just jumped out of a cake.
Yes.
So this is a whole lot of pressure for them, I'm sure.
It is, especially for my mother because she was my best friend. We did everything together from morning until it was time to go to bed. Everything together.
Your relationship with your mother is not unlike a lot of daughters. When Daddy got maybe a little negative about your behavior or what you wanted to do, you kind of retreated with your mom, huh?
Yes, I did.
So she was your mom and your sister?
Well, not in that sense. She wasn't. When I wasn't no longer happy with my father situation as far as management was concerned, my mother, she really wasn't there for me then. And I understood. I realized she wanted to remain neutral. And I realized that she loves him very much, and I'm her daughter, and she didn't want to get in the middle of it. And I understood that.
Yes.
Although it was quite hurting to me, because I had no one else to turn to, except for Michael or Jan or someone else in the family.
You're certainly one of the most strikingly beautiful single women walking around our beloved city today. May we see your left hand, please?
Yes, you may.
Well, my dear, that looks like the headlight of a Harley Davidson. Except that's your right hand.
Yes, this is
so
my right hand.
So therefore, you know, the talk show host shouldn't presume.
No, there's no engagement or anything like that tied to it.
I assume you dated throughout your teenage years in high school, and no, 20s?
No, not really. No.
And you didn't say, "But I want to go out with boys." I mean, I assume you made your appeals, did you not?
Not really. No.
It was okay with you.
Well, it's just that growing up in a family like that and being so close to my mother, it was quite different for me. The way I was raised, I was raised in a sense that music was the first thing, it was priority in our life, and that's what you did. And we really didn't have time for that, some of us didn't. And at the time, I really didn't care. I was more concerned about my career and what I was going to do.
I assume if you had to do it over again, you do the same way, or would you have left earlier? Or?
Oh, no, I do it very differently.
You would?
Oh, yes.
Tell me.
Well, I would leave much sooner, of course.
Would. You're sorry you waited so long, of course.
Yes.
You know, but you leave, and then the boys and the girls and the men and the women and the heartaches and the broken, and he didn't call, or he did, or he won't stop calling. Yeah, you missed all that. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, yes.
Are children family ideas at all going around your head?
No, not yet. Not just yet.
I assume you hope to be a mother someday.
Yes, I do. Well, actually, I plan to adopt. I'd love to adopt children. I feel that there are so many children in the world today that need love and attention and care. And I feel that I can provide that for them. And I want to do that for so many kids that are out there who need a home. Michael's quitting concerts. Has quit. Basta. He's finished. Enough, he says. I don't think so.
Really?
No, I don't think so. It's a part of him. It's in his blood. He could never quit that. When you've grown up with that all your life, you just can't quit like that. No, I don't think so. But then again, I can't speak for Michael, but I bet he hasn't.
So you would expect then him to return to this world stage that he alone occupies. You know, it's really hard to imagine someone who is more at the center of world popular culture than your brother. He's
an extraordinary talent.
Do you have a what you would call a good brother-sister relationship with him?
Yes, very much so.
You know, he doesn't exactly talk your ear off, as I'm sure, you know what I mean? So I'm wondering if you or someone in the family might be the one person in whom he confides.
He does. He talks quite a bit, as a matter of fact. But we like to joke and play at the same time. So it's quite interesting. It's very different from what the public perceives of him.
Well, we think of him as such a mysterious young man. We know, you know, we want to know more about him, and I suppose he's maybe doing the right thing. It certainly hasn't influenced or in any way impacted negatively on his popularity. He's hotter than ever.
Yes, he is.
In fact, I took one glove off and nothing happened. Anything. But regarding doing it over again, LaToya, please, you'll pardon our preoccupation with your family, because most of us in the audience and those watching in have families, and this isn't the greatest time in the world to be raising kids. And I have to say, we are impressed with the manner in which your family held it together through enormous public pressure.
Yes.
You ascribe that victory or those successes to your parents' religious values, so I guess?
My mother's religious values, yes, because she tried to instill it in all of us. And when you're very young and your parents instill that in you, no matter how old you get, the memories are still there. And no matter what you do in life, you always remember those things that you were taught. Mm-hmm. And you know what's right and what's wrong. And if you did something wrong, you're going to feel awfully guilty about it.
Mm-hmm. You do seem to be so well-centered. You know, you're certainly, I don't want to patronize you, but, you know, some women have made a lot of money just, you know, who look like you. Just whispering it out loud, yes. I remember Jane Mansfield did, and you're very, it seems to me, insightful, and you understand the world around you. I'm impressed that you got through your 20s in the house.
Yeah, I did.
That was a conscious decision on your part. You obviously could have left earlier if you'd wished, huh?
Yes, I guess I could have, but I had a very dominating father. And we were taught to respect our parents, and that's exactly what we did. And it was a situation where I just couldn't get up and leave, although I wanted to, but you just can't. There's something about it that made me feel guilty if I were to leave my best friend, who was my mother, and defy them. I just couldn't do it. It got to the point one day when I said, well, gosh, I can't live my life for them. I have to live it for LaToya. Mm-hmm. It's time for me to leave, and I did.
You had seen some of your older siblings do this, so you certainly had a precedent for it.
Well, they got married and they left, of course.
Oh, I see. And we're to understand then that you're the... Well, Michael left and he's not married.
We left the same time. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, it was a couple of days that we left exactly the same time, actually.
Yeah. Did you discuss it in, you know, upstairs in the bedroom before you... Was there any strategy?
Well, we talked about it when he came here to New York to do his concert. And we discussed it for actually 3 hours on the phone. And then after the concert, a little bit, we discussed it.
Was it harder for you or him?
Oh, it was much harder for me. It was easier for him because he had been on the road for a whole year.
Uh-huh. Did you write your dad a letter?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you notified him of your intention to leave.
Well, I did. Well, as far as the management was concerned, I did. I had consulted a lawyer, and he had sent my father several letters, actually. But my father's the kind of person, he didn't acknowledge them. And when he would come home, it was very, very difficult for me because he would never mention it. And I would wonder, did he get that letter? Mm-hmm. And it's quite puzzling to know this. And he would continue, and we would live this normal life as if nothing had ever happened until that one day, and he came home and said, that's it, I'm not letting you go. I'm going to hold on to you. And before I let you go, I'll just not do anything with you for 5 years. And that's when it really hurt me. And I looked up to my mother, and she just continued to walk up the steps. And I was very hurt, and I said, I have to make my move now.